Masters Vessel Classical Academy, Primary Section. On the roll.
Hello, lovely children. I am still your anchor, Mrs. Ajike Chidinma. I will be taking primary 5 and 6 on physical and health education. Our topic for today is the ear. The ear. It is expected that by the end of this lesson, you should be able to 1. Mention 3 parts of the ear. 2. State at least 4 ways to care for the ear. Number 1 objective is that you should be able to mention 3 parts of the ear. And number 2 is state at least 4 ways to care for the ear. Remember that we are still talking about the sense organs. We've talked about the head. We've also talked about, and we said the head contains these sense organs. And we've talked about what sense organ is, that they are the parts of our body that tells us what is happening around us. Now we mentioned, we said there are 5 in number. We've talked about the first one in our last lesson, which is the eye. Today we'll be talking about the ear. The ear is the sense organ for hearing and balance. It is what? The sense organ for hearing and balance. A mammal has 2 ears, 1 on each side of the head. When we talk about mammals, we are talking about animals that give breast milk to their young ones, or animals that give birth to their young ones alive, like human beings, like goats, sheep, cow. These are all what? Mammals. They give birth to their young ones what? Alive. Is that correct? Yes. Now let's take a look at the structure of the ear. Now everybody touch your ear. Touch your ear. Have you done that? The ear is made up of 3 parts. What did I say? The ear is made up of how many parts? 3 parts. They are, number 1, the outer ear, the part of the ear you can touch. That is the part we call the outer ear. Now, this is the part of the ear which can be seen on the side of the head. It is shaped like the mouth of a big snail. Have you seen a snail before? Yes. It is called pinna. We call it what? Pinna. Now look at what the pinna does. The pinna collects sounds. It collects sound waves and directs it along the ear canal, which is called the middle ear, okay? The middle ear contains fine hairs and oil and wax, what we call wax. You've seen a candle burning before, right? Something like that. We call it wax. That traps germs and what? Dirt. Is that clear? So the pinna does what? Collects sound waves and sends it through the what? It sends it to the middle ear. Is that clear? So we have mentioned the first part of the ear, which is what? The outer ear. Now let's talk about the second part of the ear, which is called the middle ear. This is a bit away from the outer part of your ear, the part you can see. Now the middle ear is a small air-filled chamber in the skull. It is what? A small air-filled chamber in the skull. It contains 3 tiny soft bones called ear ossicles. We call it what? Ear ossicles. These 3 tiny bones inside the middle ear, we call them what? Ear ossicles. Pronounce that again. Ossicles. Say it again. Ossicle. Good. Now these tiny bones, we call them, you can either call it Malleus, Incus, and Stapes, or you call them hammer, anvil, and stirrup. What did I say? We can call these tiny bones, either you call it Malleus, Incus, and Stapes, or you call it hammer, anvil, and stirrup. You get that? Keep practicing. Now this middle part of the ear, the middle ear, it contains the eardrum. It contains what? The eardrum. It is this eardrum that receives sound from the pinna. The eardrum inside the middle ear does what? Receives the sound. You know what it means to receive? It receives the sound from the what? The pinna. When the sound is received, the eardrum shakes, or we say it vibrates. It does what? It shakes. By the time it receives the sound from the pinna, it does what? It vibrates. Then let's talk about the last part of the ear, which is the inner ear. The inner what? Ear. This part of the ear contains a complex of bony passage. It does what? It contains what? A complex of bony passage. Do you know what it means for something to be complex? Very difficult to do what? Identify. Okay? Now the sound which shakes the eardrum is passed on by the inner ear to the brain. It does what? It is passed on to where? The brain. Then the brain in turn tells us what type of sound it is and where the sound is coming from. For example, if you hold maybe you are in the kitchen and the cover of the pot falls down to the ground, it produces a sound, right? Yes. The pinna collects it, sends it to the middle ear through the eardrum, and then the ear, from the eardrum it passes on to the brain, and then the brain tells us what did what, that something has done what, falling to the ground. And then it tells us that it is the cover, or if you happen to be in the parlor or your mother is in the parlor, it will tell you that it is the cover of what? A pot. It sounds like the cover of what? A pot that has done what? Falling. So the brain does what? It interprets this sound to us. Don't forget that we have learnt about the brain already. We said the brain tells us everything that does what? Happens around us. And it always tells us the right thing. Is that correct? So the brain, once the message is sent to the brain does what? Tells us what type of sound and where it is what? Coming from. That is how you know that, oh, it is a pot, a pot of cover that did what? That fell, and it's coming right from where? The kitchen. Is that clear? Now, we've mentioned the 3 parts of what? Our ear. We mentioned the outer ear, the second one, the middle ear, and then the inner ear. Those are the 3 parts of the ears. And then let's talk about how we can care for our ears. Care of the what? Ears. We should care for our ear by, number 1, not inserting sharp or pointed objects into the ear. Did you hear that? We can care for our ear by what? Not inserting. Don't put sharp objects or pointed objects like needle into what? Your ear. Don't use knife or spoon or fork, the mouth of fork, to do what? To poke your ears. It is not what? Good. Another way we can care for our ear is by not removing the wax too often. By not doing what? Removing the wax in our ear too what? Often. That oily thing you see every time you take a cotton bud to remove it, don't do it what? Too often. This is the reason, because it protects the ear from infections. It does what? The wax in the ear does what? Protects the ear from what? Infections. Is that clear? So you don't do it what? Too often. I didn't say you shouldn't clean your ear. Do, but not every morning. Your hand is in your ear to avoid what? Ear problem. Is that clear? Now, another way we can care for our ear is by wearing protective ear muffs when working under conditions where the noise level is high. When you're working under conditions where the what? Noise level is what? High. You should do what? Put on your ear muffs. Is that clear? Like sometimes you might be near where there music, someone is playing music and it's too loud. You should do what? Protect your ear. Does not need what? Too much noise. Okay? Noise is what? A nuisance. It's not good for the what? Ear. Now another thing, that this means that you should not stay where a place that is what? Noisy. Move away from such places. Is that clear? Another way we can care for our ear is by seeing the doctor when we have ear infections or earache. Is that clear? Don't hide it. Oh, when someone hits your ear, you hide it, and then something will start coming out. You will not show mommy and daddy. You will not show your aunt or your uncle. You will keep it to yourself. Don't do that. Always do what? Tell your parents, who will in turn take you to see what? A doctor that will take good care of what? Your ear. Is that clear? We have said you should not insert sharp objects into your ear. Don't remove the wax from your ears too often, because it does what? It protects the ear from what? Infection. And we've also said you should wear what? Ear muffs when you are in a noisy place. And also do what? See the doctor when you have what? Ear infection. Your ear is paining you. Don't do it yourself. Do what? See the doctor. Is that clear? Now this is the homework for you. You're going to do at home. Homework. Number 1, you are to mention 3 parts of the ear. Do what? Mention 3 parts of the ear. Then the second one is for you to state at least 4 ways to care for the ear. State 4 ways to care for the ear. I am still your teacher, Mrs. Ajike. Stay safe. God bless you. Bye.